Hello and welcome back to Talon 101. This time we're going to cover RFF 3 or RFF 3-4, which is actually called Volcanon. That is an epic name for a combo filler, and there is actually more to Volcanon, which makes it really epic. Reviewing the frame data first, RFF 3 is your 16 frame mid from right foot forward. If this does connect, it is +7 on hit, and if it does get blocked, it is -4 on block. Hwoarang will always transition back to left foot forward, so you're going from right foot forward to left foot forward every single time. Pretty safe mid on paper, and of course, if this hits +7, that's a lot of frames to work with, and your opponent can't do much, as you can lock them with DF1, DF2, or F1+2. Take your pick between those three mids. There's just one small detail you need to know, and that's if an opponent does decide to sidewalk right on hit, then DF2 will lose. And Hwoarang already has a below average sidestep in Tekken 8. It's a interesting thing, so just pray that your opponent doesn't sidewalk right. And if they have a really good backdash, their character has a good backdash, then DF2 would lose on hit. But that's a smaller group of characters, so you don't really have to worry about that much. The one thing that is always certain though is that if the opponent attempts to sidestep towards the right at most frames, so let's say we put Hwoarang at +2, it will track towards the right. That's +2. This is 0 on block, and it whiffs. Now, there is another 0 on block that creates a little bit space between Hwoarang and his opponent, and he will now track. So 0 at point blank is different from 0 on pushback. And then of course, if we go higher in terms of frames, let's say +5, then all the more it will catch towards the right. We can change this to sidewalk right to complete the set. So +2 catches walk. 0 point blank catches walk, probably because of the walk animation. 0 with pushback continues to catch walk, and of course +5 catches walk. Now it only tracks towards the right. No matter what kind of frames I do put Hwoarang at for sidestep left, this will never catch sidestep left at all. So at least you can prevent them from stepping towards the right, lock them in place on hit. And if the opponent attempts to backdash any move that puts Hwoarang in right foot forward on the first interaction, then you can rely on RFF 3 to not get backdash there. The only time it does lose is on max range. So if you do something like forward 2 at max range, then RFF 3 would whiff. But anywhere else for most moves, for as long as you do it at the basic ranges and not the max range, then it will pretty much never get backdashed. Another thing about this move is that if it does get blocked, it is -4. And at -4, these are the frames like Flying Eagle, Forward 2, LFS2, and RFS 1. It's a slightly higher by 1 frame, but you can still move or punch parry in these spots. So if the opposing Hwoarang does decide to do something as basic as a DF1, now of course you have to take note on your opponent's challenge because it's going to be highly dependent on their move. But in Hwoarang's case, one sidestep left will take away his DF1 in this instance. Even a sidestep right where it supposedly tracks, it loses in this instance. Of course, it's beating backdash here. If their mid is short, let's say like Leroy back 1+2, then you surely would be able to avoid that with a backdash. But yeah, it depends on what their mid is so that you can get a small punish right after RFF 3 or even a big punish. The last thing that's really cool about Volcanon, or the first hit of Volcanon in RFF 3, is that it does hit grounded. So you can rely on this to slightly nudge the opponent on the floor, whether they're face up or face down. Now there is only one angle where it would whiff, and it's slightly towards the side here, like right over here. This is the exact spot where it would always whiff. Watch out for this one part, but it's pretty rare for both sides. And this is the side for when the opponent is face down where it whiffs, but everywhere else, you can rely on this move to simply nudge the opponent on the floor. So now you have something really safe to pair up with down back 4 if you didn't want to do something as risky as FF3 or back 3, given like how slow those two moves are versus wake up kicks. Of course, the only caveat is that you do have to enter RFF first, so perhaps as soon as the opponent does go on the floor on Okizeme, let's say you end the combo with Flashing Trident, you enter RFF immediately and go for RFF 3, and then if it hits, then you can confirm, go with a down back 4, they stay on the floor, RFF 3 again, then if they really do stay on the floor, then yeah, that's when you start doing your FF3 or your back 3. Now RFF 3, it sounds okay. I mean, there is nothing on counter hit, but it does have a second hit, and that's RFF 3-4, and the second hit comes out, 27 frames, and it's more dangerous compared to RFF 3 by itself, because if this hits, it's plus 21G, and if it gets blocked, it's plus 10G. So what that basically means is that it's a 50-50 all the time. So if the opponent gets hit by it, they're locked by RFS DF4, and if they do block this, there's a chance for them to backdash RFS DF4. So simply replace that mid with Flying Eagle in Right Flamingo or even RFS1. As soon as they're holding against those two mids, now you have the freedom to go for more plus frames into RFS2, or go big with RFS down 4, most especially if Heat is active, or use the mental frames to your advantage and stand switch back to Left Flamingo to do down 3-4 or LFS down 4 in combat low. Now if it does counter hit, there's two parts where it counter hits. Number one is if the first hit connects, like RFF 3-4 connects on counter hit. Nothing is guaranteed here, like absolutely nothing is guaranteed. Even if that says 21, that's still the plus 21G. The only time you do get something guaranteed is that if the second hit is counter hit, then you get a guaranteed right Parabellum kick. So if Heat is active in that instance, then you already know that you're getting a full launch, because it is a natural combo there. Now this string will always put Hwoarang in Right Flamingo, and the only time it goes to right foot forward is if you let his foot go down. So you have to pretty much wait for Hwoarang to go there, because they removed RFF 3F4, which was a shortcut to keep Hwoarang in right foot forward as soon as he does the Volcanon string. So you're just gonna have to live with it entering Right Flamingo and waiting for it to go to right foot forward. Now if this move is a mid-high, so you must be thinking, yes, does it jail? The answer to that is no, it does not jail. And the opponent can pretty much telegraph this because there's no other option right after RFF 3-4. So they can just simply do a flash duck down forward or a down back into a back, so like a fuzzy guard, to see if you're going to do the second hit. And also, the second hit has no tracking. So if I simply do RFS 3-4 by itself, you see how they're able to sidestep left the second kick, sidestep right the second kick, sidewalk left the second kick, and the last part, sidewalk right the second kick. Even if I put frames, let's say we put it at RFS 2 to catch sidestep left, the second kick straight up whiffs in front of the opponent's face. So don't bet on Volcanon to catch the opponent moving, like, at all. The only time it does catch someone that is moving is if it's a backdash, which at that point it becomes the classic string that you typically see for knowledge checks. Now, did mention knowledge checks, and if the opponent does attempt to, let's say, duck and attempt to punish, then this new transition that they added in Tekken 7 will be the one to punish them. So this is for as long as you hold forward after RFF 3-4, you will enter Right Flamingo faster. So that looks something like this. Remember, this is Volcanon, RFF 3-4. He has to do the second kick first in order to enter Right Flamingo. If you do it with the forward, you see how he cancels the second kick right away. And canceling the second kick right away means that your opponent's punish has to be fast. So that was an 11 frame. This is 14 frames. And if I change this to 15, you see how I get caught if I'm trying to avoid the second kick, and then the moment the cancel comes out, and like I'm getting punished. So like it has to be really specific, so something like a down jab, or their timing has to be more on point. So they either wait for the whole right Parabellum kicks to come out, or they follow a specific timing to punish the actual transition to Right Flamingo. So it's not an easy punish to do, and that's one of the few things that allows Hwoarang to use RFF 3-4 or RFF 3-4 forward. So that risk of it not jailing is covered simply because of this transition. And if it does connect against the opponent, it is -1 on hit. And if it does go on block, it's -12. Now, down jab is a big counterplay versus this whole string. Because if you try to do the full string into any low crushing move in Right Flamingo, you will always lose. Even if I change this to, let's say, RFS 3-4 forward, and I try to do any of the Right Flamingo low crushing moves, it won't work. The only way you can beat this is to simply do RFF 3 and then low parry. So now you're gonna have to add that to your list if you're gonna use RFF 3. Now you can't low crush this, unfortunately. If I press up 4 right after, you see how Hwoarang gets caught. If I press the orbital, Hwoarang gets caught. If I press Flashing Trident, Hwoarang's fastest move, that low crushes at 14 frames, it loses. If I press up 3, it also loses. You can't sidestep it either. Or at least Hwoarang's having a hard time sidestepping it because of, you know, his below average sidestep. And you can't backdash it at all. So that's one of the cons you'll have on block if you're trying to really use the 2 hits. Whether that be shortening it to RFF 3-4 forward or RFF 3-4. But besides that, this is a really, really safe mid for Hwoarang in right foot forward. And maybe slightly underwhelming, but once you're able to use this a little bit more, then you're gonna be preventing more people from stepping towards the right and potentially messing up their defensive timings as they're like, oh, whoa, RFF 3-4 forward. Because now a lot of Hwoarangs do use it because of the risk of RFF 3-4. But again, that risk is mitigated because of the transition. So yeah, that's everything I know about Volcanon RFF 3-4 or RFF 3. That's been the lesson for this video. Again, I've been Frontier, and thank you for watching.